What's up, YouTube? It's Reggie, and today we're on Psalm 45. It says, "The glories of the Messiah and his bride. My heart is inditing a good matter. I speak of the things which I have made, touching the king. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer. Thou art fairer than the children of men. Grace is poured into thy lips. Therefore, God has have blessed thee forever. Gird thy sword upon thy thigh, O most mighty, with thy glory and thy majesty, and in the majesty ride prosper, prosperity, because of the truth and meekness and the righteous, and thy right hand shall teach thee terrible things. Thy arrows are sharp in the hearts of the king's enemies, whereby the people fall under thee. Thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of thy kingdom is a right scepter. So what God is saying is that God cherishes his children, cherishes us to the point where he calls us his bride. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you think about it, God loved us enough to die for it. And that's why he tells us that as husbands, we should be willing to die for our wives because Christ died for us. And he calls the church the bride, which we are the church. Those who put their faith in Jesus are considered part of the church. And when you realize that God sees so and finds so much delight in us. That's why too many times we put expectations on God and just worry about things God didn't mean for us to worry about. Like, God is almighty, all powerful. But too many times we have certain problems in our life and we're like, God can't help me out of this one. God's good. God parted the Red Sea. God did all these things, but he can't help me with my situation. Like, and when you really think about it, that's putting God in a box that he doesn't fit in. God's too big for that box. So whenever you have problems, don't think about how big your problems are. Tell God how you know he will deliver you, how he is faithful. Tell your problems about God, the God you serve, the God that parted the seas, the God that freed his people, the God that shows up, the God that broke down the walls of Jericho. Like, really remember God's history, remember his track record. And that's when you will never fear anything you go through because you know God is delivering you, that God has a plan. It's like, yeah, earlier today, I thought I had a shift today, but I actually didn't. It was for tomorrow, and I actually can't work that because I have church tomorrow. But instead of getting mad, like, I'm walking there, and it's like he was telling me to just check my schedule, and I checked it, and I see that it's tomorrow, and it saved me from walking all the way there when there wasn't an event going on, and I just would have been angry if I walked that way. I turned right back home and went here and started making my Bible videos. And it lets me know that God has a plan for everything. Like, I might think I know what's best for today, but God has a better plan. So every day I just urge you to trust God. Trust that he has a better plan than anything you can imagine. But you will never know that plan if you don't have a relationship with him, if you don't talk to him, if you don't ask him. Because how are you going to know these answers if you never ask the God who made the plan? It's like asking coach, what's the play call without talking to coach. How are you ever going to get that play call? So I urge you to seek growing your relationship with God. It starts by believing in the blood of Jesus, but every day you get closer to God by reading your word, by talking to him, by spending time in your secret place. Take time today for God. It says, "Thou lovest righteousness and hateth wickedness. Therefore, God, thy God, have anointed thee with the oil of gladness above thy fellows. All thy garments smell of myrrh, aloes, and cassia, out of the ivory places, whereby they have made thee glad. King's daughters were among thy honorable women. Upon thy right hand did stand the queen in gold of Ophir. Hearken, O daughter, and consider, and incline thy ear. Forget about thy own people and thy father's house. So shall the king greatly desire thy beauty, for he is thy Lord, and worship thou him. And the daughter of Tyre shall be there with a gift. Even the rich among the people shall entreat thy favor. The king's daughter is all glorious within. Her clothing is wrought of gold." So what we see here is that the king's daughter is like a gem, you know? And it says that king greatly desire thy beauty because that's like showing off like his most prized possession, you know, like the daughter of a king is like, if you remember that time, at the time, from what I see in the Bible, I see that um daughters of kings are offered to people to make like unions to connect families and build people together. So it shows like the daughter was a very important part of the piece. Like it was a very like prized possession. And I think about how God looks at us the same way because he calls us bride. Brides are typically female. Now that doesn't mean that God looks at us like all females, but no, it means that God sees us as his bride. So he's showing us the value of us. Like to him, we are very valuable. It says her clothing is raw of gold. Look at society. Like God puts this in terms where we can understand. From the psalmist describing it, using the daughter as an example of the church. Wrought in gold, like something that is covered in gold is very valuable. And God says that, like God is showing us, and this psalmist is showing that God looks at us as very valuable to the point where he laid down his life for us. How valuable must your life be for God to come in the flesh and lay his life down for it, and for the devil to tirelessly chase after? God saves your life by laying his life down and picking it back up 3 days later and washing you and redeeming you with his blood. But think about how much you're tempted by Satan. He is tirelessly pursuing your soul because it's valuable. He knows you're a threat to the kingdom when you stay in your word, when you're focused on God and not of these distractions of this world. Says, she shall be brought unto the king in remnant of needlework. The virgins, her companions that follow her, shall be brought unto thee. With gladness and rejoicing shall they be brought. They shall enter into the king's palace. Instead of thy fathers shall be thy children, whom thou mayest make princes in all the earth. I will make thy name to be remembered in all generations. Therefore shall the people praise thee forever and ever. Remember that God is worthy of all praise. That he's not worthy of just you singing a praise song once, that he's not worthy of you just thanking him once. Every day we should be thanking God for breath. Because apart from God, we can do nothing. We cannot breathe, we cannot speak, we cannot walk, we cannot do anything unless God allows it. Really think about that. Who put breath in your lungs? God. Who allowed you to walk? God, when he provided you with legs that work. Who provided you the ability to speak? God, when he put lungs um breath in your lungs and allowed you to speak. Like words could not come out. You could speak at all you want and nothing could come out if God didn't allow it. So realize that God allows you to do everything. And with God, you can do all things, but without God, you can do nothing. Really humble yourself to realize without God allowing me to breathe, without God allowing me to be alive, without God allowing Adam to be tempted and fall, we would not be here. Too many times people look at Adam and be like, oh, Adam messed up. But if Adam hadn't messed up, we would not be here. We wouldn't have salvation through the blood of Jesus. God's plan wouldn't have came to fruition how he wanted it to. Because you got to think about it. He wanted them to divide and multiply, but God is all knowing. So he knew, and when he told Adam to divide and multiply, I mean, not to divide and multiply, but to multiply, replenish, and take over the world. Like, as far as take every control of everything that God gave him power of. He knew he was going to fall from that day. Like, we got to stop acting like all this stuff is surprising to God. God knew Adam would fall. God knew Eve would eat the fruit. God knew Adam would eat the fruit after. God knew that every time we're about to follow our own desires, God knows. But he still chooses to lay his life down for us. Really see the love in that. That God loved us enough to love us through our own disobedience to him. He loved us to the point where he shed his blood for us. How much love does it take for someone to lay their life down for you? Really think about that and choose who you want to follow. Do you want to follow your own thoughts and what you feel, or do you want to follow the living God? God bless you, and I pray that that rests with you. Like you really battle with that today. If you don't believe, I urge you to really think about the love that God already showed you by laying his life down for you. God bless you.